future of marketing is under constant change, and never more so than it is today. I talked to Ben Parr, president and co-founder of Octane AI, and author of Captivology, the science of capturing people's attention. We discuss the evolving challenges that marketers face in the not too distant future, and how you need to think differently to stay ahead. Welcome, Ben. Interesting CV you've got on LinkedIn. It always intrigues me as to where people came from. You were an intern at the House of Representatives. So how did you get to where you are today from those, well, I won't say humble beginnings. I think they were probably pretty exciting beginnings, I should think.
You might actually be the first host to actually ask me about that. Uh, it was when I was in college, Northwestern in Chicago. I thought I wanted to go into politics, and so I was able to get myself an internship with the House of Representatives after my freshman year, and I'd done some of the political courses and aced those and all that fun stuff. And yeah, it was definitely exciting. There was definitely a lot happening, but there's like a couple things you learn as soon as you're in the Congress walking around. One, the congressman or congresswoman, three-fourths of the time, they're in an office building doing phone calls to donors. And it's like, holy crap, look at how much time they're spending on that. And the reality dawned on me, which was like, I would be very beholden to other interests if I started out down the political path because you don't make that much money. And then even if when you go into Congress, then you're beholden to like other people's money versus like I decided then, I would like make my own money and I would like build my own thing so that if I ever did run into politics and run for politics, I would have my own money. I wouldn't be able to be bought. So it was a super exciting time. I remember like everyone gathering for like nerding out over free trade agreements, crazy things like that.
That sounds probably a lot more exciting than I thought it was going to be. I thought you were just going to be sitting in the office, penning speeches for everybody and trying to get it all right and being shouted at and things like that. Along the way, you wrote a book called Captivology, and I think the subtitle of it is The Science of Capturing People's Attention. Now, I haven't read all of the book, but I'm assuming that it was aimed at investors deliberately. Perhaps you wanted to get some investment for your own business along the way. Was that true?
It's actually the opposite. I was an investor at the time. So I had started a small venture fund, was actually investing into startups on behalf of celebrities and others with a small fund. And when I was doing that, I got asked all the time for help in press, marketing, customer and user acquisition, virality by these founders because I was known for that from my Mashable time. It really quickly became clear that everyone had the same problem, which was attention and how do you capture attention. And in the past, I got a lot of book offers because of my time at Mashable, but it was the first time I actually found a topic. I was like, this is super fascinating. I really want to do the deep dive in it. Let's go like really explore this because no one had really done that. There's so much amazing research and attention, but no one had brought it together into something that was actionable by the general public. And that kind of like started the journey. I got very lucky with like an amazing agent and an amazing like team and an amazing publisher to go and write that book.
Do you think that attention spans are getting shorter? And can you hazard a guess at why that might be?
Well, I write about in the book how the amount of information that is being presented to us as human beings has grown exponentially, and yet the amount of attention, the amount of time, the amount of the brain capacity, the like our eyes, they're the same as they were, maybe 20, 30,000 years ago with maybe some minor differences. And we were not designed to go from like a megabyte to a gigabyte to a terabytes worth of information being thrown at us every single day. And that number's only increasing as there's more content and more options. And it's definitely caused us to split our attention more and to take on new habits that aren't fundamentally human. Will we adapt? Probably. But also, we're not designed to adapt or evolve this rapidly to changes that we ourselves are introducing. So there's a lot of factors to what's happening to attention, but a lot of it really comes down to a change in the way in the amount of information that we have to process.
Yeah, I think there's a fictitious measure of attention span. I think is the attention span of a goldfish, which has always been used over the years that I've actually been thinking about attention spans. And I think we've actually got a shorter attention span now than the current goldfish level has, if that's a measure.
There's an interesting. So I write about in the book about the three stages of attention and how attention isn't an on-off switch, but it's a progression over time. So immediate attention is like our automatic attention that happens like light switch on off. You hear a gunshot, you smell something. You could consider that the goldfish attention if you want, but that's like the quick reaction. Then there's short attention. That's like our ability to focus on a TikTok video or a movie or like a one-time thing. And then there's long attention, which is not as much written about, but is part of my model, which is about long-term interest and long-term memory. And kind of your goal as somebody who's trying to capture attention is to get their like immediate attention, build up some interest in the short attention, and convert yourself into long-term memory because long-term memory and attention are intrinsically linked. And so you want to have whatever your idea is, whatever your company is, be committed to long-term memory. And so there's a bunch of little things around that. It's less that we are goldfish and more that there's just so many things competing that only a couple things and only the same amount of things can end up at long-term memory because the brain hasn't changed all that much in the last 100 years.
That's quite an interesting analogy, actually, because as we talk about the main topic, which is about the third-party cookies and their demise over the next few years, one of the things that you could see is that the use of retargeting is a way of being able to keep the memory fresh with regard to a product that you viewed in the hope that the visitor to your website will revisit and make that purchase. So it's quite interesting that attention or that instant attention, but being hit numerous times along your journey is or has been a way of being able to keep people's attention. But anyway, let's move on a little bit. The use of third-party cookies and retargeting ads have been the mainstream of many companies' digital strategies for acquiring new customers. But soon all that's going to go away with the demise of the third-party cookie. Do you think that that's going to cause marketers bigger issues?
The entire ad and like marketing world and e-com especially, but just all across the board, has been entirely built around third-party cookies, right? That's just how we were able to monetize media websites, how e-commerce brands were able to grow, how Facebook became one of the most valuable companies in the world, which is just like using data that was going from multiple like websites and tracking and using that to serve, more precise retargeting ads. But that also came at the cost of privacy. And we've seen the kinds of issues that happen when over the last couple of years. And so the result has been, a fundamental pushback. And interestingly, it didn't start with governments. It started with Apple with iOS 14.5, giving users the ability to opt out of tracking, which, at a fundamental level is great for users. But, businesses were definitely not prepared and couldn't really prepare for such a fundamental change so quickly to their business models. And that's going to be changing even further as, Chrome is going to no longer support third-party cookies, the most popular browser in the world, and they won't support that in the beginning of 2023. And suddenly all retargeting ads as the way they currently work won't even work anymore. Like Google's going to go to a new cohort-based system. Facebook is trying to pivot to the metaverse. The result is that for brands that, haven't collected their own data, haven't, built up other channels outside of advertising, it's going to get really rough. It's already really rough for a lot of the brands that I speak with every day. The cost of ads has really gone up. That's really fundamental to their businesses.
But do you think Google is shooting themselves in their own feet? Because obviously they've got a massive ad stream themselves, so they're going to have to find a way to reinvigorate some sort of way of cashing in on whatever's new. You're listening to the shortened version of this podcast. To listen to the full version, visit your favourite podcast player and search for Webtrends Optimize or The Big Lift.